Growing up, my family revolved around my sister, Emily. She was the golden child, homecoming queen, straight teeth, and parents who acted like her achievements were miracles from God himself. I was the quiet one, the kid in the background holding the camera at every birthday, the one who got told, "You'll get your turn someday." My turn was supposed to come in the form of my college fund. When my grandfather passed away, he left me a trust worth $40,000. He said it was to help you build a future that no one can take away. My parents promised they'd keep it safe until I was ready for school. I believed them. Why wouldn't I? Years passed. I studied hard, got into a great university, and finally needed that money to pay tuition. When I logged into the account, though, my stomach dropped. Balance, $0. At first, I thought there had to be a mistake. Maybe a transfer error, maybe the wrong account. I called my dad. He didn't even sound surprised. "Oh, that," he said casually. "We used part of it for Emily's wedding deposit. You'll get it back soon." "Part of it," I repeated. "Dad, the account's empty." He sighed like I was being dramatic. "You're overreacting. We'll make it up to you. It was just sitting there." My mom jumped in on speaker. "You know how important Emily's wedding is. She and Ryan have been planning this for years. Family helps family, sweetie. Don't make this a big deal." I remember staring at my laptop screen, the zero taunting me. $40,000, my future, my grandfather's gift, gone. Emily called that night, pretending to sound guilty but failing miserably. "Look, you'll be fine," she said. "You're smart, you'll get scholarships or something. I'm sure Grandpa would have wanted me to have a nice wedding too." I hung up without replying. That was the moment I realized something I should have known all along. I wasn't part of their family, not really. I was the backup plan, the spare, the one who made sacrifices so Emily could shine. But this time they'd gone too far. And instead of yelling or begging for fairness, I did what they least expected. I went quiet. Because I wasn't planning to fight them with anger. I was planning to fight them with proof. The next morning, I started gathering bank records and messages, determined to find out exactly when and how they stole what was mine. I spent the next morning digging through old files and emails, trying to trace what happened to the account. The deeper I went, the angrier I got. My parents hadn't just dipped into it. They drained it systematically over months. Hotel payments, catering deposits, a down payment to some luxury event venue with a glass rooftop and a view of the city. All for Emily's wedding. The same wedding I wasn't even invited to help plan because, as my mom once said, "You don't really understand that kind of thing." When I confronted them again, I came armed with screenshots. "You used my college fund for a wedding venue," I said, my voice shaking but steady enough to be heard. Dad leaned back in his chair. "We already told you we'll pay you back." "With what?" I snapped. "Your moral high ground." Mom slammed her hand on the table. "Watch your tone. We did what we had to do for this family. You've always had such a cold heart. Emily's wedding is once in a lifetime. You'll have your chance someday." "My chance to be robbed." Dad scowled. "You've always been dramatic. This is exactly why we didn't tell you sooner." I realized then that they didn't feel guilty. They felt justified. To them, I was a resource to be mined, not a person to be respected. That night I sat on my bed scrolling through social media, and sure enough, Emily had posted photos from her wedding rehearsal. Her caption read, "So grateful to my amazing parents for making my dream day possible. Family truly means everything." The comments were full of heart emojis and congratulations. No one knew the truth. That's when the idea hit me. If they wanted to use me quietly, then I'd expose them loudly. Not out of spite, but because I was done letting them pretend we were some perfect family. I started collecting everything: bank records, emails, even texts from Emily bragging about her big princess wedding. I printed my grandfather's will, highlighting the line that said the fund was for my grandson's education only. I didn't know exactly how I'd use it yet, but I knew I wasn't letting this go. When I told my best friend, Jordan, he laughed in disbelief. "Dude, that's theft, like actual theft. You could go to the police." I thought about it. I could press charges, but part of me wanted something bigger than a legal victory. I wanted everyone to see who they really were. So I waited and I planned. A week later, when Emily's wedding day finally arrived, I was ready to give them a gift they'd never forget, and it wasn't wrapped in a bow. Emily's wedding day arrived like a national holiday in my family. My parents were buzzing around all morning, posting photos, tagging vendors, bragging about how everything was finally perfect. I stayed quiet, but inside I was rehearsing. They thought I'd gotten over it. They thought I'd accepted my role as the invisible sibling, the one who watched and clapped and stayed out of the way. That was their first mistake. The venue was ridiculous. Massive chandeliers, marble floors, champagne fountains. The kind of place that costs more for one night than my entire first year of tuition. I remember standing by the bar, watching my parents beam while guests complimented them on how tasteful everything was. Tasteful, I thought, isn't the word I'd use for stealing from your kid. When the speeches started, I slipped away to a quiet corner and pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking, but not from nerves, more like adrenaline. I'd spent weeks gathering everything: screenshots of the drained account, bank transfer records in my dad's name, and even a scanned copy of my grandfather's will, highlighted where it said for my grandson's education. At first, I was just going to post it anonymously on Reddit, but then I realized this wasn't just about exposure. It was about accountability, and nothing holds people accountable quite like family gossip. So I uploaded it all to our extended family's Facebook group, the same one my mom used to post her proud parent photos every week. I titled the post, "Just thought everyone should know where the money for this beautiful wedding really came from." I hit upload, watched the screen refresh, then waited. It didn't take long. Within minutes, notifications started exploding across my phone. Cousins, aunts, uncles, even family friends commenting things like, "Is this true? And how could you do this to your son?" When I walked back into the reception, my mom's phone was already buzzing. She looked at me across the room, pure fury on her face. My dad's smile was gone, replaced with the realization that everything they'd hidden was now public. Emily didn't notice right away. She was too busy dancing, laughing, basking in her spotlight. But as whispers started spreading, the atmosphere shifted. Guests exchanged uneasy glances. Her new in-laws huddled near the table, whispering to each other and glaring at my parents. I didn't stick around for the explosion. I slipped out quietly, leaving the sound of chaos behind me. By the next morning, my phone was flooded with messages, and the fallout from that single post was worse than I'd ever imagined. The next morning felt like waking up in the eye of a hurricane. My phone was buzzing nonstop: calls, texts, voicemails. Half were from relatives demanding to know if it was real. The other half were from my parents and Emily. I didn't answer any of them. When I finally opened Facebook, the family group chat had imploded. Dozens of comments, all public. Aunt Lisa, who never picks a side, had written, "If this is true, you too should be ashamed." Someone else had tagged Emily's husband's parents, who were already replying with long, angry paragraphs about honesty and financial transparency. Then I saw it, my mom's post. "Please don't believe everything you read online. This is a misunderstanding that's being blown out of proportion by someone very hurt and confused." Hurt and confused, I muttered. That was their favorite trick, turning me into the problem whenever they got caught. An hour later, Dad called again. I let it ring. He left a voicemail anyway. "You've humiliated this family. Take that post down. You don't know what kind of damage you've done." The thing is, I did know. That was the point. By the afternoon, even Emily's new husband, Ryan, had texted me. "Dude, I didn't know about the money. If this is real, my parents are furious. They're asking your folks to repay it or they'll take legal action. I almost felt bad for him, almost. When I checked Reddit, the post I'd mirrored there had blown up, thousands of upvotes, people calling my parents the ultimate entitled mom and dad. Screenshots were already circulating on Twitter. The internet had taken what they did and amplified it 100-fold. That evening, Mom showed up at my apartment without warning. Her eyes were red, her voice sharp but shaky. "You ruined your sister's wedding," she said. "Do you have any idea how embarrassed we are?" "You stole from me," I replied. "You embarrassed yourselves." She pressed her hands together like she was praying. "We can fix this, just delete it. We'll make things right." "You can't make it right," I said. "You already spent what wasn't yours." She started crying, loud, performative sobs that might have worked on someone else. I just stood there. For once, her guilt wasn't my burden to carry. When she realized I wasn't giving in, she switched tactics. "If your grandfather could see you now." I cut her off. "He'd be proud I didn't let you get away with this." She froze, then she turned and left without another word. That night, I sat on the couch staring at the quiet glow of my laptop. My family name was trending on Reddit, my sister's picture plastered across gossip threads, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. But just when I thought the storm had passed, my parents tried one last move, and this time they didn't come alone. 2 days after my mom's meltdown at my apartment, my parents showed up again, this time dressed like they were attending a business meeting. My dad was in a pressed shirt, my mom in pearls, and they didn't come alone. Behind them was a man in a suit carrying a briefcase. "Who's this?" I asked, already bracing myself. "This is Mr. Blake," my dad said stiffly. "He's helping us resolve this situation." "Situation," I repeated. "You mean theft?" Mom flinched, but Mr. Blake stepped forward with a polite smile. "Let's avoid harsh terms. Your parents simply want to reach an understanding before things escalate further." I laughed, short and sharp. "Oh, it escalated the second they stole my college fund." He cleared his throat. "They're offering a repayment plan, partial installments over 3 years. In exchange, you remove the online posts and issue a clarification that this was all a misunderstanding." I stared at them, amazed. "So you want me to lie so you can save face?" Dad's jaw tightened. "You've humiliated this family enough. You made your point." "No," I said, "not yet." I grabbed the folder on my table and tossed it in front of them. Printouts of every transfer, every text, every bank statement I'd already submitted to the scholarship board and my grandfather's attorney. "You're not getting to rewrite this. You took my money, you lied, and now you want me to fix your reputation. Absolutely not." Mom's mask cracked. "We raised you, we gave you everything." I met her eyes. "Grandpa gave me everything, you just spent it." That silenced the room. Even Mr. Blake looked uncomfortable. He finally said, "Perhaps we can revisit this later." "There won't be a later," I replied. They left without another word. The door clicked shut, and for the first time I felt the quiet weight of finality. Not relief yet, just the knowledge that whatever bridge had connected us was officially burned. That night I checked my Reddit post again. It had exploded, front page, thousands of comments. People were dissecting every detail, sharing their own stories about family betrayal, injustice, stolen inheritances. Some were angry for me. Others were sympathetic to Emily's husband, who apparently had no idea where the wedding money came from. Then I got a DM from a journalist. She wanted to interview me for an article about financial betrayal within families. For a second, I hesitated. This was no longer a private feud, it was becoming a headline. But then I remembered how my parents had tried to erase the truth, to spin it, to make me small again. I replied, "Let's talk." By the end of that week, the story wasn't just family gossip anymore. It was everywhere. and there was no putting the genie back in the bottle. By the time the article went live, it was everywhere. The headline read, "College Fund Betrayal, When Family Loyalty Crosses the Line." My name was changed for privacy, but everyone in my extended family knew exactly who it was about. The journalist had done her research. She included excerpts from the bank transfers, quotes from my Reddit post, even lines from my grandfather's will. Within an hour, my phone exploded again. Emily's husband texted me, "You didn't have to go this far." My mom sent a message that simply said, "You've destroyed us." Dad didn't message at all. I ignored every notification and went for a walk. The air felt heavy, like the calm after lightning, when everything's quiet but still crackling underneath. For years, my parents had shaped the narrative. The perfect family, the devoted parents, the golden daughter. For the first time, that image was shattered, and they couldn't rebuild it. That night, I got a call from my aunt. "You did the right thing," she said softly. "Your grandfather would be proud. He warned me before he passed. He didn't trust them to handle that money right." Her words caught me off guard. I'd spent months wondering if I'd gone too far, but hearing that, confirmation that even he saw what they were capable of, felt like closure. Meanwhile, the internet kept doing what it does best. The story hit trending sections on Reddit and TikTok. Commenters picked sides. Some called me brave, others said I was petty. But for the first time, my voice mattered more than theirs. 2 days later, my dad finally called. His voice was low, tired. "We've lost everything," he said. "Friends, business clients, no one wants to deal with us after this." "I'm sorry that happened," I said and meant it, "but you did that yourselves." He sighed. "You really think this made you better than us?" "No," I said, "it made me free from you." There was silence, then a quiet click as he hung up. That was the last time we ever spoke. The fallout settled slowly. Emily's marriage started cracking under pressure. Rumors swirled that her husband's family demanded repayment. My parents sold their house within a month to downsize, though everyone knew why. I didn't post about it again. I didn't have to. The truth had already done the work for me. Still, even after everything, part of me wondered if I'd gone too far, until a letter arrived in the mail with my grandfather's handwriting on the envelope. The envelope looked old, yellowed around the edges, sealed with the kind of care that made you hesitate before opening it. The return address was from my grandfather's attorney. I hadn't heard from him since the estate was settled, so seeing his name again made my chest tighten. Inside was a short letter written in my grandfather's handwriting. The ink had faded slightly, but his words were steady, confident, the way he always sounded when he spoke to me. "If you're reading this, it means the college fund has reached its end. I want you to remember that money is just a tool. It can build things or it can reveal what's already broken. Don't let this family or anyone make you smaller than you are. You've got a good heart. Don't let bitterness take it from you." I read it 3 times. Each time, the words hit a little differently. For months, I'd been fueled by anger, by this burning need to make them hurt like I did. But my grandfather's voice, even from the grave, cut through all of that. It reminded me why I'd done it in the first place, not to ruin them, but to stop letting them ruin me. That evening, I went back to the house I grew up in. The for sale sign was still out front, but the windows were dark. The garden, once my mom's pride, was overgrown and brown. I stood on the sidewalk for a long time trying to feel something, nostalgia, sadness, regret. But all I felt was distance, like I was looking at someone else's story. I left the letter on the porch, not as a message to them, but as a goodbye to whatever part of me had still been hoping they'd change. The next morning, I emailed the journalist who'd written the article. I asked her to add a short update at the end. "To everyone who shared this story, thank you. Justice isn't revenge. Sometimes it's just closure." I didn't care about the comments anymore or whether people still talked about it. I'd told the truth. That was enough. A few weeks later, I received my scholarship confirmation, full ride. I wouldn't need that stolen money after all. I took it as a sign that maybe the universe had its own way of balancing things. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like someone's shadow. I felt like myself. When I moved into my dorm a month later, I thought the past was finally behind me, until a message from an unknown number reminded me that some people never stop trying to rewrite the story. It came a month after I moved into my dorm. A new number, no name, just a short text. You think you've won, but all you did was prove you're just like them. At first I thought it was spam, but then I noticed the phrasing, the guilt wrapped in insult. Classic mom. I stared at the message for a long minute, thumb hovering over the keyboard. For a split second I almost responded. Then I remembered the letter from my grandfather, the line about how money can reveal what's already broken. That message wasn't an attack. It was proof. Proof that they still hadn't learned, still saw truth as betrayal. So I blocked the number and tossed my phone on the desk. Outside my window, campus buzzed with the kind of energy I'd always imagined. Students rushing to class, music drifting from dorm windows, the smell of coffee and freedom everywhere. I'd thought leaving home would feel like escape, but it didn't. It felt like arrival. Later that night, I opened my laptop and reread the original Reddit post. The comments had slowed down by now, buried under newer stories. But one of the top replies caught my eye. You didn't ruin your family. You just stopped letting them ruin you. I smiled. That one stayed with me. Over the next few weeks, I settled into a rhythm: classes, friends, late-night study sessions. Every now and then, I'd think about my parents, wondering if they ever regretted what they did. But then I'd remember the silence, the lies, the way they looked me in the eye and said it was family helping family. And I realized I didn't need an apology to move on. The truth was enough. On the last night of the semester, I walked across the campus quad under a canopy of string lights. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to my old family photo album and deleted it, not out of anger but to make space for something new. Some stories don't need a sequel, they just need an ending. I whispered a quiet thank you to my grandfather, to that long-ago promise of a future no one could take away. And then I put my phone away, breathing in the cool night air. For the first time in years, I felt free.